Hello everyone and welcome back to Green Wings Migration YouTube channel. As usual, I'm Eleonora, I'm a registered migration agent here in Perth, Western Australia, and I created the podcast in order to bring you news and information about the migration system and this beautiful world that Australia has created around the migration framework. As you know, on the podcast, we normally invite people to discuss different things from migration to daily life and daily needs that you might have as a migrant. So for this reason, today we have Sue Pemberton from AussieOS, right?
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. Something really fun I forgot to tell you before is the way you reach out to me.
Oh, yes.
I almost never look at my LinkedIn profile. But the day that you actually text me, I did. And I saw it as a great opportunity because this is something that comes onto my desk on a single daily basis. People that come to talk to me about their needs to relocate to Australia, and AussieOS, correct me if I'm wrong, is exactly what they do. They help people relocating to Australia. So I said, yeah, why not? This lady sounds like the perfect person to invite on the podcast for our clients and, our public. So tell us about AussieOS. Tell us everything about them, what they do.
Excellent. Well, AussieOS is a relocation company and we specialise in home finding. So that's our main core service. So we work with a lot of corporate clients but also private individuals as well when they arrive in Australia. And we often connect with them before they arrive, find out all of their needs and budget, where they're going to be working, what kind of commute they're happy to do. And then we work with them to secure them a rental property.
That's good.
Yes.
Yeah, amazing. And if you are listening and you are in Australia, or if you're actually, getting information about moving to Australia, you would have definitely see that accommodation is a big deal at the moment. Finding accommodation from the get-go is super hard. And it doesn't matter whether you're a young person coming on a working holiday, a student, a sponsored person, a skilled worker. Finding accommodation in this particular period is very, very challenging, isn't it?
Yes, it is. So that's where all of our relationships come in with property managers around the country. And there are quite a few, scams out there and those kind of things, which, I get really worried about. So I really like to reach out to people and make sure that they sort of understand the best way to go about finding a rental. And we provide a assisted service with that, with consultants working one-on-one, narrowing down properties. We can often even sometimes secure properties that don't even end up on the market.
Wow.
With the relationships that we have with many landlords and property managers.
Great.
It's just to make sure, because it can be really overwhelming, and in the past I've seen a lot of people pay too much, assume that certain houses are in certain school zones and they're not, and not be really happy with a property that they've secured, or not being able to secure a property at all.
Absolutely. Especially because I guess what the rental agencies would normally look for is a contract of employment, a rental history, and many people wouldn't be able to supply any of those when they first come here, right?
Yes, so it's a lot of demystifying the often confusing property market that we have here, because I don't think anywhere around the world they will be as thorough in asking you the questions and asking you to provide proof as they do here.
Yeah.
So a lot of people who come, and if they've been here for a while and they haven't been able to get in anything, and then they're stuck in an Airbnb and it's very expensive, and they reach out to us, it's often they haven't been giving all the information to a rental application that's needed. As well as property managers, they might be so overwhelmed with 100 applications on one property. It might just be easier for them to go, okay, who's filled out the rental history, who hasn't, then I'll just split them off and put it and start with a smaller list.
Yeah.
So they might be getting eliminated straight away. So most of our clients don't have rental history, but what we do with them is really making sure that they've explaining that why. The why they don't have it is because they're moving here for a new job. This is how much money they're going to be earning. This is how much money they actually have in the bank, and how they're going to be able to afford and pay for that rent.
So the rental history, is it only relevant if it is from Australia, or could I discuss the rental history from overseas as well?
I think it's definitely worth, if you do have rental history from overseas, it's definitely worth explaining that and putting down and trying to get as many written like rental feedback from past landlords, because it's often, if a property manager has to call someone overseas and try and talk to them about what you were like as a tenant, that they often find that hard and challenging.
Yeah.
So the more you can get written testimonials and references about how amazing you are and how you'll be the perfect tenant, that you can showcase that you've got money in the bank as a backup to what you'll actually be earning. That's a really good thing to do, because a lot of people, won't even fill out the application with how much they're actually earning properly, because they find that that's very personal. So really understanding the why. Property managers need to be able to see that after tax, the rent is no more than a third of your income. So, and a lot of people don't understand that. So, especially when families arrive, it might be just one spouse that has secured employment, and their role and their take-home pay, and a third of that may only be, $500, $600, $700 a week, but they're applying for rentals much higher than that.
Yeah, on the assumption that maybe the spouse will also find a job eventually, but obviously in the meantime, the agent needs to be sure that the rent can be paid.
Yeah, so you really need to explain that to them. And we often find, because property managers are so overworked, it's a very exhausting job, and they're always really worried about ending up on Today Tonight for all the wrong reasons.
Oh, it is.
So any potential tenants, they don't they feel it's a bit of a risk to speak to them directly. But as soon as they know that they've got a relocation agent and it's us, they'll often take a call from us and let us explain whether, the background about the person, where they're coming, what project they're going to be working on, how long they're going to be here, if the plan is even for applying for permanent residency after that, so it's going to be a much longer term period, if it's going to be a company lease or if the employees are paying for it themselves. They'll often take a call from us because they know that what they say to us won't be misinterpreted. And they also have a comfort of knowing that we'll explain to our clients that are moving to Australia or around Australia what the rules of renting are. So when you're getting the inspections, the first one at 6 weeks, and then, how you have to look after a property, because how you look after a property and expected to in Australia is very different.
It's totally different.
Like
I can speak for Italy, for example. You never hear about any owner coming to the place that you are renting out, or even the real estate agency coming and checking whether you keep the place in good order, whether you clean it, whether you look after the grass and everything. So definitely many people are taken by surprise by it, because this is the place I pay for. This is my sort of sanctuary. Why would anyone want to come and check on me? And unfortunately, that's just the way it is.
Yeah. So and it's really important that people understand that that's the way it is for everybody.
Yeah.
Because if they don't, they will think it's just happening to them, and they're getting persecuted. And then the relationship between the property manager and the tenant can go sour quite quickly. So it's just it's really good to have us as sort of just as a landlord has a property manager representing their best interests, we work as sort of a tenant's advocate representing their best interests to make sure that they're getting really good value, the property is well maintained, that aren't obvious things to us with our property management background, that there could be things like mould, we've put things in there for maintenance on the pool, gardening, things, low-hanging fruit that we sort of see could be major issues in a property if they're not being well maintained.
Absolutely. And you said something very interesting before. You said that sometimes people who have been in an Airbnb for long contact you, which means you can help people who are already here, not necessarily people who are coming from overseas, right? Okay.
Yes, so we often get calls because a property manager has given some clients our details because they have missed out on a recent property. And they're overwhelmed, and they've arrived, booked out at Airbnb for 2 or 3, 4 weeks, and 8-9 weeks later they're still in there, which can be, especially at different times of year, that can be so expensive. As well as if you don't have a long-term lease and you have children, you can't enrol your children in school until then. So we really prefer to sort of start working with people before they arrive, because even sometimes we do a lot of work for hospitals, so we do a lot of doctors and nurses, and especially with the doctors when they need to be in a certain call-out zone if they're specialists of a hospital to be able to get there quickly. And a lot of them have either been to Australia before or Perth before, and been in and lived in certain places, and we can often view properties on their behalf, send them videos, apply for properties on their behalf, and secure them a property before they even arrive. And then we often work with people about, is it worth bringing your staff? Maybe not. Look at what you can buy from IKEA or Fantastic Furniture or the local marketplace. Furnish it with that instead. We can receive all of that furniture, set it all up for you so they can arrive straight from the airport into the property and bypass that really expensive short-term accommodation.
And let's say that someone does want to bring their stuff from overseas. Would you look after also the shipment and everything?
Yes.
Okay.
We work with a couple of removals brokers, which I think is often the best way of doing it, so you're not getting too locked in. I think the global mobility industry is probably what we sort of call the relocation business. Most companies and my competitors are large removals companies.
Okay.
So the big champion has always been the goods and moving the goods. However, I'm always like, to me, I think the people are the most important piece, maybe not the goods. The goods are replaceable, and the amount of times over the years that I've seen companies pay like $27,000 to move
couches.
$3,000 worth of 15-year-old IKEA rubbish from one side of the world to the other. And when I go, okay, that's what's arrived. And they'll go, there's a use it or lose it kind of policy with the company that if they don't use the removals allocation, then they don't get it. So I'm really passionate about working with HR managers to sort of have more flexible relocation policies in place. So instead of saying having a budget for $10,000 or $15,000 or $20,000 to move goods, then that amount could be allocated into securing a furnished property or to buying new or second-hand goods to furnish a property. Because I think employers should remember that if they're paying for people's goods to be moved here to Australia, they're actually, if they go back to where the home country, that they actually need to be paying for
them to be sent back as well. Wow.
So that's very expensive. So I think
that is what, like a rule for relocation HR policies?
Yeah, okay. And I think if it was tested, like, as part of, the costs, you've done this and you've paid for all of this, and now I'm left in a compromised position because I don't have a job anymore, but I've moved all my things and they're stuck on this side of the world. Push comes to shove. I mean, that's something that you could probably end up on Today Tonight for as an employer.
And you don't want that.
I can see the story now. Like, I got told I got here a job and, now they won't move my stuff back, that kind of thing. So I think as a risk thing, like it's just the value is you get so much more value for your money if you
bring that stuff.
If you don't bring that stuff. And everyone I speak to, they often go, yeah, I just don't know why I did bring that stuff, because it's all...
I think it comes from maybe affection to things, which is something that people want, some others don't really care. Or maybe some of them have very valuable stuff that they cannot replace. But I suppose that's different. Like if you have a big piece of art that it's unique, would you even consider taking it to Australia unless you have achieved that permanent residency citizenship stage?
So we often just sort of guide people on just moving a few square meters of things, and then putting the rest in storage. And then a lot of people I speak to, when they go back to the storage shed years later, is like, what was I thinking? And then it's just take it all to the tip.
Yeah.
So, but I think it is that real emotional journey. A lot of people aren't ready to let go of all of their goods.
Yeah.
We do find a lot of clients that come from the UK and Ireland, they're actually leaving properties that they own furnished and rented. And it seems to be, especially in Ireland, but people expect properties to be furnished when they rent them.
Fully furnished.
Okay. So that's why a lot of this policy of bringing your goods over and, they've already they're leaving all of their furniture in the property while it's rented. It might not be. I've even had clients tell me that they're going to go buy a whole house full of furniture in UK or the island or wherever it is, fill a container with that and then send it over. And I'm just thinking about the carbon footprint and if it gets opened and they realise that it's all brand new, then you'll get charged a duty on that. And we often have people who want to bring over cars as well, which I have had many people bring over vehicles, but it's really important to understand how much that's going to cost, how much they need to be cleaned. It's very, very expensive.
And wouldn't it make sense only if it is something like very old, valuable, rather than just the average Hyundai, for example, the Fiat 500?
And we look after everyone from large teams of tradespeople from places like the Philippines and set up share houses for them and manage that on the employer, to your CEO of a very large company with a $3,000 plus a week budget, that may be even moving back to their hometown and their house in Dalkeith. And bringing all of their goods back, so, and everyone in between. Absolutely. So, it's everyone's different, and what this journey is, and that's why the needs analysis of what we do and tailor making the service to the person is really important, because we have a lot of people, actually a lot of Australians that are returning to Australia, a different part of Australia. We do a lot of interstate clients as well.
Oh, cool.
So we often move goods for interstate people because the price is lower, and they are moving vehicles and those kind of things a lot of the time.
But, within Australia, it kind of makes sense to me. Like if you bought a car in New South Wales, why wouldn't you take it to WA, for example? But from overseas, maybe just worth just selling it and buy something new when you come here.
Yeah. And it's the same with fridges, washing machines, dryers, all electronics. So I often say to people, I know it's really expensive, but sell it, because the electronics often don't match up with what's right here, and
even the plug is not the same.
No, so they often won't work as well or at all.
Right.
So you're better off not bringing any of those goods here. As well as the feedback that I get from clients is that a lot of the furniture stores and electronic shops are really good value for money compared to other places around the world. So what they can buy here is really great, and then, they can pick and choose. And even what we do with a lot of clients, if they are even waiting on a shipment or they want to get here and choose things slowly themselves, and we already have a property, we'll get camping gear because, they're moving to Australia, so it's all about this outdoors lifestyle. So they want to buy all this camping equipment and tents and blow-up mattresses and all of those kind of things anyway, and folding camping chairs. So we'll buy all of that. So at least they've got an empty house, but they've got it full of camping furniture.
Yeah.
So they can do that for a few days until they
buy
can go
something.
lie on the mattresses in the shop and decide which one they want.
So it sounds like the service you provide is actually very personal, very tailored to the individual needs. It's not just you want to move, this is a checklist and this is what we do, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, we do have all of those checklists as well, but it's all those nuances. It's
more like a guidance, not just what it is.
Yeah, because everyone is different. Some of our clients are, have children, school-age children or children and they need to be able to get them into a certain daycare, children with special needs. That's a lot of what we chat with our clients. They're only going to have one vehicle or they're not going to have a vehicle at all. I've had clients before where the vision impairment, one of the parents, so they need to be walking distance to a train station because otherwise they're Ubering everywhere and it's very expensive, or catching taxis. So it's really tailor making that. And so people understand often the commute times because especially when we get people coming from the UK, they really like being stuck in their cars. And I'll often have people that are going, it's fine if it's an hour and a half each way commute because I'm used to that. I've been doing that for 5 years.
Okay.
And it's like, no, you've got a plan to pick, to pick and decide a suburb where you don't have to do that.
Yeah.
So I've got a funny story. Like a few years ago, I had the lovely people, but they were like, we need to live in Iluka. That's where it, or Hillary's, and that was that kind of area.
Researching the suburbs?
And that is where we need to live. And at first it looked like they were going to be based in the CBD, and then after a while they realised that they were going to be based in Henderson.
Okay,
so
totally different place.
Yeah, so that a kind of annoying 30-minute, 45-minute commute each way from Henderson to Hillary's or Iluka, became an hour and a half each way. And I was like, look, I know you've got your heart set on that and you've even got your kids into that Catholic school, Sacred Heart up there and those kind of things, but don't do it. It's too far away. So I said, come with me. We're going to go look at some properties. So I ended up.
So you actually took them with you and show them around.
And take them, because that's what we do is we take them usually when they get here, they don't have a car, or if they do have a hire car, and take them with us and we go look at properties, and if we can get into them and view them, that's great, or when the home opens up.
And that is your discovery tour, right?
Yes,
Good.
yes. And so I said, look, we'd spent some time up in Hillary's and having a look at everything, and it was great. And then it was like, right, come with me and we're going to go look at some other suburbs which are going to be much better and for a commute-wise. And that family, we went and looked around. We actually ended up finding them a great property in Shelley, like near Rossmoyne High School zoning. They ended up sending their children actually to Rossmoyne High School.
So they changed from Sacred Heart.
Yeah, Sacred Heart. And they did actually get offered spots at Corpus Christi as well, because they were a Catholic family, so they're looking at that. But they decided to go Rossmoyne, really super happy with the area. A few years later, when they got permanent residency, then they actually bought there. And they used to ring me all the time, or even the dad, Chris, used to ring me all the time and go, just gonna say thanks. I'm only 15 minutes away from home and I'll be there in 2 minutes.
Life is different.
Because I'm not driving to Hillary's because of you.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Well, that's great help, especially because when you come, as Sue said, you have no idea. You can research as much as you want, but it's only when you're actually here that you actually understand how the traffic is, what the peak hours are, and all the services in the area. Two more things I wanted to ask. Do you help with enrolling their children in schools as well?
Yes, so we'll help people with sort of that needs analysis, and finding out what's right for them. So I don't do any visas or
No, of
migration
course,
or
but
anything like that. So often, finding out what type of visa that you're on and whether you have to pay for your children's schooling while you're here or not. And that's different state by state.
Yeah.
And it constantly changes.
Yes, of course.
And drives me mad, because what I say is, so it's like, let's just double check that and get online and ring the schools and find out what's right. And then, so depending on that, then we sort of talk about, well, if you've got one child and you do have to pay something, then it was the same amount, $2,000 to $4,000 that you'd pay for one child, or if you had 5 children.
Yeah, that's on the 482 visa.
Yeah, and then it was like,
doesn't make any sense, but thanks.
Yes, yeah. So then it was like, oh, okay. Well, if you've only got one child, and you're looking, then you might go, oh, maybe we'll do a small little Catholic school as an option then, and then we can look at some areas that are not so competitive because they're very expensive because of the school zone.
Yeah.
So that kind of thing is really important to sort of understand. And also just what type of kids they are, what are the interests. Is a bigger school going to be a really good fit for them, or is a smaller, more caring, nurturing school going to be the right fit? So sort of unravelling that a little bit and giving them a few options to sort of look at. It's all the extracurricular things for kids as well. I was just working with a young family that are coming from the Philippines soon, and their son is a really good competitive swimmer. So all the different swimming clubs that are available, and so we're really looking at getting a rental property that
near
has
to a pool. And
near to a pool that has a really good swimming club. And, and then it was like, oh, well, you might want to do the WA life-saving programs and nippers and those kind of things too. And then water polo clubs and cricket clubs and football clubs. And then with smaller children, it's all the different, play centres and everything as well, and sort of seeing there's a lot of information which is online about, areas that you should live and schools and those kind of things, which is a bit of propaganda. I think I saw, that, this suburb, and it's only 20 minutes from the city, and I think it was Elcamos, and I know Elcamos is, and they even had pictures of Leederville, which is only a few kilometres out of the city, next to all of these pictures from Elcamos.
Okay.
So it's quite funny when you get online yourself pretending that you're someone moving here. I think a lot of the information is actually written by real estate agents or people trying to
drive their market,
what their needs
is.
Yeah, like this is the best suburb and this is where you need to live. Or it might be driven from, someone they know that moved here and they lived in Wembley and Wembley was the best place or whatever, and I must live there. And it's like, well, you know what? There's 50 other Wembleys that we can suggest.
But, this happens to me as well, like obviously quite often, especially when I meet people that are still overseas. Their questions tend to be more about the lifestyle rather than migration. And I'm always caught off guard because this is my experience, not necessarily what will fit your needs and your children's needs. So having, as you said, an advocate for them on their behalf, which is very honest and very plain in advising what you really think is best for them, I guess, is what people need. Last question, which is very dear to me. Pets. Yes. Pets relocation.
Yes, we work with a few different pet removals, and with
you do.
Yes. So and we can definitely do that. It's really important for people to understand that it can take a long time.
Yes,
and it's very expensive.
I think most of the people who are interested in relocating their pets know that, because this is what they start looking for even before understanding what visa they'll need to use, which is obviously not bad, it's important, but still make sure that you know what visa you're going to use before your pets. Anyway, what I always recommend people is make sure that you have a stable visa situation before you start anything for your pet, because if I'm not mistaken, it takes about 6 months for the pet to get all the vaccines and the little passport card and everything.
Yes, absolutely.
So what if you
and
do
it
everything
all depends on what country they've actually come from, where they've spent most of their time.
Yeah.
It will be that 6 month lead up of having all of those injections, and then some of the pets need to spend 3 months or so actually in the quarantine centre before they can get to you. So, so really sort of having a think about that. I have a golden retriever, a pug and 2 cats, and the thought of, they're my family members.
No, absolutely. They will be coming 100%. But
absolutely.
In the right
but
way.
I'm not too sure how they travel as well. So it's really a bit heartbreaking. And I know it's very, very expensive. But I've got some clients moving to Sydney actually soon. And they're on student visas. But, hoping, or the husband's on a student visa doing a master's, but they're hoping that they'll be here for a longer period of time. And they're looking at bringing their 2 cats over. I've sent them all the details and they said it's a non-negotiable. So, and it's, and that's just a 2-year visa that they're really locked into in that scenario. So that's how much they're wanting to get out of America at the moment. They don't want to leave their cats.
I mean, they're not alone. All righty. So, Sue, thank you so much. So, guys, just to wrap it up a little bit. Sue offers a great service if you are relocating to Australia. So if you're moving to Australia, whether permanently or on a temporary basis, or even if you are already in Australia but you're struggling with finding accommodation, looking for the best place, understanding if things that you might have left behind back home are worth taking to Australia or not, definitely Sue and her team at AussieOS will be the right people to talk to. We will share all the details about the company, about Sue in the in the comment section below, and also we will send a newsletter to everyone who has actually subscribed to our newsletter, to our channel, because that way you have all the direct contact details. Maybe if you are considering coming to Australia, try having a chat with them even before you talk to a migration agent, just to understand what the relocation process might look like and how much it costs, because I suppose you go by packages depending on what people want and how tailored the service should be. So beforehand what's the next move. And then when you are, settled on the idea that you want to come, contact me. So we can have a consultation and go through your needs, your migration needs. That's all for today. Thank you so much for being with me. It was a pleasure. And hopefully we're going to send many people through to you very soon.
Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. It's been great.
Thank you so much. See you next time.
See ya.